What you're about to hear isn't a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster. This is the real, terrifying story of 3 men who volunteered for a mission they believed would kill them, all to save a continent. Welcome back to the channel, and today, we're uncovering the full, untold story of the Chernobyl Divers. It's late April, 1986. The world is reeling from the news of an explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Reactor number 4 has blown its top, spewing a plume of deadly radiation across Europe. But as firefighters and emergency crews battled the blaze, they uncovered a far more terrifying threat. A ticking time bomb that could dwarf the initial disaster. Deep beneath the raging inferno of the reactor, the core itself was melting. A white-hot, radioactive blob of molten nuclear fuel, known as corium, was slowly burning its way through the concrete floor. Where was it headed? Directly toward a massive pool of water. The bubbler pool, located in the basement, directly beneath the reactor, held thousands of tons of water used for cooling and emergency systems. Now, it was about to become the catalyst for an unimaginable catastrophe. Scientists on the scene did the terrifying math. If that molten core, burning at over 2,000 degrees Celsius, made contact with the water, it would trigger a colossal steam explosion, a thermal detonation. This second blast wouldn't just be bigger than the first, it would be powerful enough to vaporize the remaining 3 reactors at the plant. Imagine the consequence. An explosion of that magnitude would launch a massive cloud of radioactive particles high into the atmosphere, a cloud far deadlier than the first. It would have been a nuclear apocalypse in slow motion. Prevailing winds would carry the fallout across Europe, from Kyiv to Berlin, Paris, and beyond. Experts at the time estimated that a huge portion of the continent would become uninhabitable. It's not for years, but for centuries. Millions of lives were hanging in the balance, a scenario so dire it felt like the end of the world. There was only one way to stop it. The water had to be drained, and it had to be drained immediately. But the valves to release the water were located deep within the flooded pitch-black basement of the reactor building. A basement filled with lethally radioactive water. Going down there was, for all intents and purposes, a death sentence. The call went out for volunteers, who would willingly walk into a radioactive tomb to save millions of strangers. 3 men stepped forward. They weren't soldiers or action heroes. They were engineers who knew the plant better than anyone. Alexei Ananenko, who knew the location of the valves, Valeri Bezpalov, and their shift supervisor. Boris Baranov, who volunteered to hold a light. They were told what was at stake and what the mission would likely cost them. They accepted. Kitted out in wetsuits that offered little to no protection from the intense gamma radiation, they descended into the darkness. The water was up to their chests, the only light coming from Baranov's waterproof lamp. They waded and swam through a maze of pipes and corridors, the clicks of their dosimeters rising to a frantic, terrifying scream, signaling radiation levels that were off the charts. Every second they spent in that water, their bodies were absorbing a fatal dose. After a tense search through the murky, contaminated labyrinth, Ananenko found the pipes. They frantically worked together, their hands turning the stiff, heavy valves. One by one, they opened the sluice gates. And then they heard it, the beautiful, life-saving sound of rushing water. The pool was draining. They had done it and made their way back out, exhausted but successful. The water drained away just hours before the molten core breached the final concrete barrier. Catastrophe was averted. The world was saved from a disaster that would have rewritten history. Initial reports, and even the famous HBO series, suggested the men died shortly after. But the truth is, while they all suffered from severe acute radiation syndrome, all 3 heroes survived the initial ordeal. Boris Baranov passed away in 2005 from a heart attack. But Alexei Ananenko and Valeri Bezpalov are, amazingly, still alive today. Their act of selfless courage, their willingness to sacrifice everything, saved countless millions of lives and prevented a nuclear wasteland across Europe. They are true heroes in every sense of the word. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories of unbelievable heroism. Thanks for watching.